shenanigans.
That helps. But you're Army. Yeah, I'm Air Force. For me to wear the Army shirt. But it still has an Army star. But it's really.
Top of the morning to you. We're gonna do a quick speech ritual real fast. Now, you all know that my boss is in the room, so that was just water. He saw me pour it out of the water bottle that was sealed before we even started. So, okay. We're going to get into that. Okay. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. If you haven't read Dave Rosso's hat, it says he's full of shenanigans, right? Not a shorter version of that, right? No. Okay, cool. Okay. So you know what they say, Irish today, hungover tomorrow. Okay, so everybody be on your best behavior at happy hour today if you're having one. I would like to welcome you all. I am very honored to be presenting to all of you. I'm going to pretend like I'm not nervous to be talking to you because I've talked to you hundreds of times, but just don't watch my hands that are shaking a little bit. So before we dive into Design Studio and all things Design Studio, we're going to talk about our team real quick. So in these pictures, you can see me and my husband in sunglasses. His name is Jeff. We have been married for 27 years this year. I was only 10 when I got married. Thank you. And I have been with the ARC. I just celebrated my 6th year. In the middle, we have Teresa and her husband, Brian. And Teresa is our studio manager and QA specialist. The grill masters there, you probably may not recognize Becca. Becca and her husband, Michael. Becca just joined us in February, and we are very happy to have her. If you talk to her, she will tell you she's just a plumber, but that's not true. She has many talents that she brings to us, so we're excited. Our missing team member right now in the bottom corner is Sharon and her husband, Edward. Sharon will be celebrating her 1-year anniversary with us at the end of this month. And then you see our muscle there at the bottom. Those are our Design Studio partners. We have 8 painters and 4 make-ready techs. So we are a team of 16. You may have read in the Eagle that we have 14. Suzanne was not incorrect. We have hired 2 since that article was written. And you all have a sheet that you should have. If you haven't received one, we'll make sure you get one. It has all of our contact information for our office. So the Design Studio, what the heck is a Design Studio? I get asked that question a lot. So the Design Studio is a place where residents come to explore and to personalize their homes. So when they come into the Design Studio, they get to not only see the things in the studio, but they get to touch and feel those things because we know that that's important. It's important for you to be able to see the choices that you're making. When I first started, we had 3 cabinets, 2 countertops, and 1 backsplash in the studio. It wasn't much. We are up to 10 cabinets, countertops, and backsplash. So we're offering a lot more choices than we used to. We also have the virtual kitchen in our Design Studio. So if you haven't had an opportunity to come by, we are located in apartment 924, but we have a virtual kitchen. We are the only retirement community in San Antonio who has that technology. And I think we are one of 3 in the state of Texas that have the technology. So we're really excited that we get to show that off. It helps us show people what things are going to look like together. So we have design boards that kind of lead a picture of something that you could pick all together, but people can mix and match those things. So the virtual kitchen is a great way for us to show if something will work or maybe not work. But then we don't have to be the bad guy to say, do you really want those two things together? Because when you can see it up on the screen together, it may not look great. But we will never tell you that your choices are bad. We just may lead you down a different direction. I will tell you, I have not worked for a ton of organizations in the retirement realm. I have worked at 2. But in the last one that I worked at, there was no choice. It was you get the apartment as it is, and that's yours. And it was also entry fee. Or you get the cottage as it is, and that's how it is. So to be able to offer as many choices as we have here at the ARC, and to be able to see people excited about those choices and the things that they get to do is very exciting for us. I get excited showing things off. Since Sharon has been out on some medical leave, I've got to play design counselor again, and I will tell you, probably not the best at follow through. That's what my other office team is for, but I love doing the design part. It's all the other stuff that I just will let them do. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about all of the things that we do in the studio. So the new homes, we've talked about personalizations and upgrades, but we also do that for you guys as well. So if there's something in your home that you want to change, we can help you accomplish that. And you can come up and we can play what I call paper dolls on the virtual kitchen for you all. We also do the QA process. So what really happens when units are ready, and I'm going to have Teresa dive into that later, so that we can give you a good breakdown of how that QA process works. Same with refurbishment. I like to let her talk about the complicated stuff. So I'm going to get you all pepped up, and then we're going to let Teresa talk about boring, but she'll make it fun. You're welcome. Anytime. Again, I like to play with the fun stuff. And then we're going to talk about aging in place, which I know is going to be important, and I will spend quite a bit of time focusing on aging in place because that has become a very hot topic, a very hot trend to talk about, and what we can do to keep you in your homes longer and safer. So a quick question by show of hands in the room, how many of you renovated your unit before you moved into the ARC? So a good number of you. And of those of you that did do some renovation or personalization in your home, how many of you have thought of things since you have been here that you didn't do or haven't done yet? Okay, see, all of you should come visit us. We can help you in the design studio if you want to do any kind of updating, any type of modification. We would love to have you guys come into the studio because it's not too late for you to do those things. It's not too late for you to personalize. So let's talk about the journey of a new home. This is kind of a simplified process of how a home starts here at the ARC, but what happens is there's a unit that is available or is empty and somebody is interested in it. So when that happens, it's our job to go out and evaluate the condition of that home. So we look at, are there any upgrades that are currently in the unit? Are there any issues that we know we need to address before we start construction? So there's a lot of forethought before we even get into the next step, which is design selection appointments. I will tell you, when I first started, it took 1, maybe 2 visits into the studio to make those selections. I think because now we have so many choices, it's taking from 2 to 5, sometimes 6 appointments to get folks to the finish line before we can even start renovation. And really that's because they're putting a lot of thought into it. We talked about aging in place, so people are thinking about that. Or they'll even ask us, are there things that I haven't thought about that I should be thinking about when it comes to renovating my home? And we can always give them, some options and things to think about. And then the renovation work starts, and that's really where the tedious part of our job starts. And when I say our job, I mean the design counselors. So they are walking those units at least 3 or 4 times a week. So those units get assigned to either Becca or Sharon. Currently, Teresa and I are also doing those, but they get assigned to somebody so that they are your major point of contact. So they're the people you're going to go to with questions, asking, are we still on schedule, things like that. But that can take anywhere from 30 to 120 days. It just depends on the level of renovation that we're doing. Sometimes it's just a quick paint change, carpet change, and then sometimes it's knocking down walls and it's making open concepts. I get asked a lot, do we still do traditional units? So those are the units where you still have the smaller kitchens. Yes, we do. I think the ARC has really listened to folks that are coming in, and we're listening to the fact that they may not want that large open concept kitchen. You know, the one, what you guys call one butt kitchens, those may be enough for folks. So it just really depends on the level of renovation that we're taking those units to for the timeline. And then final inspection. So that final inspection is actually what we do with the new resident. Before that final inspection, that unit has probably been looked at by at least 3 to 4 separate people. So it's probably the counselor, Teresa, myself, sometimes it's marketing. It has gone through several eyes, and everybody's, the way they look at things, they're going to look at things a little bit different. Where I may be looking for paint imperfections, somebody else may be looking at, you know, does that floor look weird? You know, it just depends on the person who's looking at it. And then we have move-in day. So move-in day, we typically coordinate that with the marketing team. Sometimes we get that move-in date, sometimes marketing gets that move-in date, but we make sure that the keys and if there are garage door openers or any other accessories that belong to that unit are given to the resident on that move-in day, sometimes before. And then again, the QA process, which Teresa will go through, but we do several touch points with residents once they are actually here. And then the closeout and transfer to maintenance. So I want you all to know that we don't just say, okay, it's been 14 days and we're done with you, so we're going to give you to maintenance. We make sure that we have followed up on any issues that have been reported during that time. And we don't pass you to maintenance until we know we have addressed all of those issues. Now, sometimes they could have added an upgrade late. That's not necessarily going to be in that closeout package. We'll still keep that part with us. But the typical maintenance things like, you know, refrigerator filter changes or something like that, that's when that goes to maintenance. And it's a comprehensive package that we give them. So it has warranty books, and in those warranty books, it has each trade and their contact information and how to get a hold of them. The warranties are typically a year for each trade, so we tell you we tell maintenance when that will start and when it stops. And then also any upgrades and the selections that went into the unit. So, you know, let's just say, hopefully, you know, 8 to 10 years down the road, something happens and their dishwasher goes out. We have in there the brand of dishwasher. You know, let's say the floor gets messed up. We have the flooring listed so that they know what kind of flooring it was. They know the paint color so that they don't have to go searching for that stuff later. It's a very comprehensive list that we give to them because we want to make sure that we're giving them all of the information that they will need in the future so that they're not having to scratch their heads and say, well, I don't know what paint color this is, so let's just try and match it. So we really like to make sure that we do that, and we have a good partnership with maintenance. So how many decisions are made in a kitchen? You would think countertops, backsplash, but when you think about it, it's cabinet style, cabinet color. Do you want your cabinets 24 inches? Do you want them 36 inches? Do you want them to go all the way to the ceiling? Do you not? What kind of backsplash do you want? What kind of layout of that backsplash do you want? So at least 20 decisions are made during that process. It's a lengthy process and it can be overwhelming. So that's why we do take the time. It used to be, okay guys, we know what they want. We take 5 days to get their quotes. We get them signed off. Let's get this rolling. That's not how it's happening anymore. People are coming in and they're asking a lot of questions because they're thinking about things like aging in place. They're thinking about things like, you know, am I going to like this backsplash 5 years down the road? You know, am I picking something that's timeless? Am I picking something that's trendy? So there's a lot more questions and a lot more forethought plus the fact that we have so many new additional choices they can make. It will take a while for them to do that, and we don't like to rush. We don't want to rush somebody into making a choice that when they move in, they go, oh, you know what? That's really not the countertop I wanted. I really wish I had picked a different one. So we really want them to sit with the choices they have made for a little bit and really think about, do I want this? Do I want something else? And so that can take a little bit longer than just 2 visits. So in this picture, we have one of the older kitchen. I always want to say one but, because you guys do. I try not to say it, but we're family here. So you can see that one but kitchen. And then you can see what it looks like when we make that transformation to the open concept with the island. It really opens up the space. It gives you, kind of free flowing area to move about your kitchen. You don't feel like you're going to run into somebody while you're baking Christmas cookies. There's plenty of space in there, and you can see how bright it becomes too, because most of those cottages have a skylight in that kitchen, so that really makes it brighter as well. And then the bathrooms. The bathrooms are a big deal. So we go from 1 vanity to 2 in most master bathrooms. And sometimes the husband gets to use that second vanity. Sometimes he still gets kicked to the guest bathroom. But you know what? We do not judge what decisions are made when somebody moves in. I would probably tell my husband he'd have to go to the guest bathroom. And then those showers. So the shower that's pictured here, if any of you live on Quebec and have one of the older showers, you have to step down into that shower, which sometimes that's okay. Sometimes there's some mobility issues, and stepping down into the shower is not the best thing. So now we create these large walk-in showers with either a no or low barrier, to where you're just having to pick your foot up a little bit to step into that shower as opposed to stepping down. I have seen in some of the older cottages where it's a bathtub shower, and stepping over a tub to get into a shower is really not great. It's a very dangerous thing. So the top 5 most popular resident upgrades, I thought you guys might want to know this, of course, are backsplash and countertop upgrades. So we do offer standards in the studio that would be at no cost, but then we also offer some more flashier items, and those can have a little bit of an upgrade cost to them, but we're only paying the difference between what a standard would be versus what that upgrade would be. The luxury vinyl plank, so it's actually, luxury vinyl plank is how most people know it, or LVT, luxury vinyl tile. What we put in is actually an SPC, which is a stone polymer composite, which means that the LVTs are water resistant. The SPCs, you could flood a unit and that water could sit in there. We could take that out, let it dry, and put that exact same thing back into the home. So it's really thinking, has some forethought for the ARC and being stewards of ARC money. So people will upgrade to that SPC for areas where we would typically put carpet, which would be in areas like the bedrooms. Some folks still like to step out onto carpet. They don't want to think about putting their foot onto a cold floor. But I would say 8 times out of 10, people want to upgrade to that LVT. The microwave drawer. So please don't groan at me when I talk about microwaves. This is a very hot topic. So the microwave placement, originally was always over a stove, okay, which is fine. But then you think about, what about my shoulder mobility, right? And what if I can no longer reach up? Well, we thought about that. Or what if I'm vertically challenged and I can't quite get up to that microwave? So we started putting those in the island. The architects who helped us during phase 1 came up with that idea, which we all thought was brilliant. And then we heard, oh no, those are too low. So what, right. So a happy medium is the microwave drawer. So if you haven't seen one of those and you would like to see one, we do have one in studio. But I will tell you, they're a lot easier to use because the buttons have a little piece that flips out, and the buttons are all on the top. the drawer slides out and you place your plate in and then you pick your plate out. So it's actually a really nice feature that we can add as an upgrade. And we do have to offer that as an upgrade because the cost difference is quite significant. And I don't think we are quite prepared to take on that full cost, but we do cost share. Patio balcony screens. So in the apartments, you guys used to be able to have the roll down screens, but for the integrity of the building, we don't like to drill into that stucco and those columns. So what we have done now is we place fixed screens. So those screens are on an aluminum frame, and there are screens in those, and those are fixed in place, so you can't move it, but it's there all the time. And then in the cottages, we do those screen rooms that have doors on them. And something that has become very popular recently, and Teresa can attest to it, is Mylar windows. So it used to be, it was just the screens and nothing else, and then I don't know who the first person was who got Mylar. Was it you guys? You can thank the Rossos. So people are now thinking, well, I think I'd like to update my screens to Mylar windows. So it's a flexible material. It's pretty delicate, but it does keep dust from blowing in, or particles from blowing into your screen room. And then number 5 is the RO system, which is reverse osmosis. So those are a point of sight use, so like at your faucet. So if you install a reverse osmosis system, it removes 99% of the contaminants that are coming out of the faucet, but it's not for the whole home. The water softeners are for whole home, and those are out in the cottages, and those are really designed to take minerals out of the water and help save your plumbing and your laundry. I hear people say they install those because they want to have their detergents and soaps be utilized better in their washers. So let's play a game. Guess the cost. The average screen patio in a cottage upgrade. So keep in mind that you get electrical out there, so you get electrical outlets, you get 2 ceiling fans, there's typically a door, and this is for a full screen, so it runs the entire length of the back patio. What are we thinking? Okay, I'm hearing lots of B, C, and D, and the answer is C. So depending on the materials, size of the layout, if you were to add Mylar windows to that, you're looking at probably another $5,000 to $6,000. But I just wanted you guys to see what something like that costs. So when new folks are coming onto campus and they're thinking about upgrades they want to do, this is one of those sticker shock items that people go, wait, it's how much? So the great thing about the studio is we are very transparent with the costs. So when somebody comes into studio and they have finalized their selections and have signed off on that, if something were to happen and material costs go up, we don't pass that on to the new resident because that wouldn't be fair. When they sign their documents, the patio cost $14,410. So if the contractor comes back to me and says, materials have gone up, it's now going to be $16,000. First of all, I'll say, I don't think so, because you and I signed a contract that says. So I do like to haggle and argue. But the good thing to know is I don't pass that on to people who would have to incur that cost, because it just wouldn't be fair. And HGTV is certainly not going to tell you how much something costs, because they want you to go buy everything they put on the TV. So design trends that are going out of style. So if you're thinking about these things, don't do it. Picking paint colors you've never seen on walls. That's not really a trend, but that is an important one. So we get people who come into the studio, and mind you, we have, is it 8 paint colors that we offer that are ARC approved? Okay, and we know those paint colors are tried and true. We have used those colors. They look great on walls. They'll match mostly anything. But then somebody comes in and says, I want Pepto-Bismol pink. And I say, okay, I'm going to do that for you, but keep in mind, I don't know what that's going to look like. And if that is your favorite color, God love you. I'll do it for you. Matching everything too perfectly. I also say not matching things enough. But walking into a kitchen that is gray cabinets and that concrete gray countertop and a gray backsplash, you don't want that. It's also going to lead to the ultra industrial kitchen styles. So the grays on stainless steel and everything looking like it's clinical and not a home. We don't want to do that. Open shelving. I love open shelving, and I think it looks beautiful, and people will put glass fronts on their cabinets, but guess what? You can never hide anything. So if I want to try and hide stuff because I've got people coming over, I can't put them in my cabinets because they can see right through that. So while open shelving is beautiful and glass is beautiful in cabinets, just think about what you're going to be putting into those cabinets, and if you have to use that to hide bodies, you're not going to want to do that. And then barn doors everywhere. Barn doors save a lot of space. You're not having to go into the room with a door. It's not taking up space for a painting or covering up another door, but just don't put them everywhere. I think it works in spaces like one of the apartments here is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So that bathroom is in a hallway. And instead of having to open out into a hallway or take up space when you open it into the bathroom, a barn door is a good choice there. But I would just say don't put them everywhere. It's just not the best look. And these are the resident upgrades that people say are worth every penny. Under cabinet lighting, I don't think you can ever have too much lighting. When we think about things, talking about aging in place, macular degeneration, things like that, you're never going to walk into a room and go, oh, it is too bright in here. Unless it's an operating room, again. But that's a clinical setting. You don't want your home to be clinical, but you do want it to be functional and safe for you. Pull out drawers and lower cabinets. My knees aren't getting any younger. I don't know if yours are. If they are, please tell me what you're doing to make them younger. But you don't want to have to kneel and stoop to get things out of those lower drawers. So thinking about things like pull-out drawers and lower cabinets is really smart. I will say in your upper cabinets there are, and I'm going to show you one later, where you can actually pull things down. So if you were ever in a walker or have limited mobility in a shoulder, you can actually pull things that are in that upper cabinet down, and you can make that lower for yourself. So I think those are a really good thing too. The luxury vinyl plank flooring, again, I think it's a personal preference, but really 8 times out of 10 people are picking that SPC or LVT product just because it holds up longer, and you're not having to think about carpet will eventually lose fiber and it will start to stretch, and then that will become a tripping hazard. So, that's another thing you can think about. And then again, those microwave drawers and the island residence, I haven't had anybody put one in that didn't like it. So now I need a break, and I'm going to let Teresa come talk to you about QA and refurbishment.
Thank you, my fearless.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, obviously Tabitha did not share her script with me. I would have made some changes and deletions. So good morning. Today I'm going to briefly walk through the QA process that we have for the new home renovations, and then share a quick update on the refurbishment program. I know a lot of people, when I call them on it, they've not even heard about it, so this will kind of give you some insight. Our goal throughout every project is simple, is to make sure that home is fully ready when you move in. To that, our QA process includes our entire team. Not only the 4 of us within our office that are overseeing the project, but we have the 12 guys that do everything we ask them to do, and we couldn't ask for a better team to do that. This also includes the detailed inspection, which Tabitha talked about, and the follow-up process that continues until the resident moves in. Let's see here. The renovations usually take 3 to 4 months. And during that time, the unit is walked numerous times during the week. We take progress pictures along the way to share with the residents. We even have residents who will come in and we walk with them to see the progress. Sometimes they'll decide they want something different. If it's feasible, we'll go ahead and do that for them. We also, as it gets closer to completion, we are really fine-tuning everything and making sure everything gets done as it's supposed to. During those final weeks, we also do 2 different punch lists, which Tabitha had mentioned. And these are forever changing because when we miss something, we're like, that's going back on our punch list or our our white glove list. And so the punch list is basically items that need to be corrected or completed. And so we hound our contractors until it gets done like we want it done. So we really do take pride in what we're doing, and we look at every home as if it's our home. Because if we're not going to be satisfied, you're not going to be satisfied. And I'm a extremely picky person. So I take pride in that, and we try and do the best that we can. In the final weeks, like I said, we do the punch item, and then we also do a white glove. And what that is where we go through and make sure that everything is working like it's supposed to. There's been times, a dishwasher been put in, we run a load through, and water comes out. So it's things like that we really do try to catch before the new resident moves in. Let's see here. I'm not as flow easy as Tabitha is. You're doing great. Thanks. So towards the end and before move in, the design counselor will meet with the resident. They'll go through and point out key points on how to use different things and different features on items, answer any questions they may have. And we also give them what we call a welcome binder, where it gives the frequently used numbers, how to contact us. I have a punch list in there so they can start writing down things, because no matter how many times we all go through it, it's always different when you're actually living in the unit. So you might catch things like, we didn't run a load of clothes through, things like that. So, they can write things down. They know we're going to come and follow up with them after the move in. That's the time when all the manuals are given to them for the appliances, how to operate them, any special upgrades they have, and so forth. So I meet with them on day 7 of their residency, and this appointment is just mainly to see how things are going. And a lot of times we're talking to them before that day comes. So it's basically to see if there's any minor adjustments. Sometimes they just ask just standard questions about, well, how do I set up this or how do I set up that? So we redirect them to the welcome binder, show them who they need to contact, and so forth. After that, I get with the contractor. We want to try and get any repairs done within a week. And then I meet with the resident again to see if there's any other things that they've noticed has come up. And so if there is, we take care of it. If there's not, then we'll have them sign what we call a closeout letter. And once all upgrades, because not a lot of times, there's been some where some of the upgrades didn't get here in time, or they take a long time. So we wait till all that's done before we send any warranty books, information to maintenance. And at that time, like Tabitha said, if you need a filter changed or something like that, that's when you would put a work order in to maintenance. So now we're going to go on to refurbishment. So I think it just hit. You didn't share that clicker with me. How about here? How about here? Okay.
All right, well, we're just gonna
It's
pretend
okay.
like it's still working.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, so the refurbishment program is where we're going to refurbish existing homes. And what we've done is we have a list, and we go for the longest time you've been here and work down. And in this, we are painting interior walls only, replacing light flooring, like if you have carpet, replace it for carpet, LVT for LVT, or replacing any kitchen appliances. We do not paint any woodwork. That's the doors and the trim. So it's just the walls. That gives a more refreshing look to a unit. To date, we have completed about 99 residencies in the refurbishment program, and we plan to schedule additional homes beginning in mid-April. So if you're wondering where you are, please call me and I can tell you. But we've been so incredibly busy, that's why we haven't been able to hit it as hard as we wanted to. So that'll get better. Our goal is to make sure every resident moves into a home that's fully complete, fully functional, and ready for them to enjoy from day one. And through our QA process and refurbishment efforts, that's exactly what we work to deliver to you. So, thank you.
Aaron's coming to the rescue to see if I can move my slides. Ha. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so let's talk about aging in place and why it matters. Most people want to stay in their homes longer. Is there anybody in here who doesn't want to stay in their home longer? Right. So small changes like extra grab bars can prevent challenges later. So again, when people are coming into the office and they're saying, what haven't I thought about? That's one of the big things we can talk to people about. And safety and comfort go hand in hand. You know, you want to feel safe in your home, and you want things that are going to make you feel safe, and sometimes those things are going to be things like grab bars. Sometimes they're going to be things like lower thresholds at door jams. So those are things that we think about when people are talking to us about aging in place. And planning early can definitely give you more options. You're not having to make decisions in a rush. Oh my gosh, there's a crisis, we need to get this done immediately. So you don't want to be in that situation. So we really want people to start thinking about this before they even need it. And again, I mean, the best time to plan is always before an event happens. I don't want to think about getting older and things I'm going to need for the future, but I know that it's a smart thing to do. So we just want to help people do that. And the ARC does, which is why when Steve came to me and said, hey, there's this thing called a CAP certification, Certified Aging in Place Specialist, and we really think that someone from the design studio should do it. You guys are the ones that are talking to folks. And so he thinks about things like people's future. He thinks about things, long term for the ARC and with you in mind. And so we're definitely thankful for that. So the top 5 aging in place modifications currently and trends that I am seeing are the low barrier showers with anti-slip surfaces. Grab bars in your bathrooms. So everybody gets 2 as a standard in a shower. So there's 1 at the entry and typically 1 on the wall where you can sit. We talked about better lighting throughout. Again, there's never going to be, there's too much lighting. So those are things you want to think about. Lever-style door handles as opposed to the knobs that you have to twist. Again, when we think about hand dexterity, those lever-style door handles are a lot easier to use. And then those pull-out drawers and lower cabinets. I don't think people are quite thinking about upper cabinets right now, but it is definitely something I'm thinking about, something that in my 3-day training course for aging in place was brought up quite a bit, as well as thresholds. So the good news is these modifications don't have to be expensive. They certainly can be, but there are alternatives to those things that are so high dollar ticket items where when you ask somebody to come in to do some home renovations, they're looking at how much money can I make you spend? You know, can I get you to spend $10,000 on home modifications? I mean, I'm sure there are people that would, but you don't have to. So I want to help you guys explore the different alternatives and those lower cost things that you can do. So let's talk about some things. So, anti-slip surfaces in showers. If you were to have a contractor come out and take the tile out of the bottom of your shower, it's not just the tile you have to think about. You also have to think about the waterproofing and the shower pan that are underneath there. And that can cost $3,000 and up. So, an alternative that we have found is Secure Grip. So, this is a gallon of product. It costs $58, and you essentially paint it on top of that walking tile surface in your shower, and it adds texture to your shower. Now, are we probably going to have to go back and put some additional on top of that as it wears and tears? Sure, but it's still going to be a lot less expensive than the $3,000 plus you would expect to spend if you were going to change out your tile. And it dries in 15 minutes. So you're not having to wait days for a contractor to come in. Well, somebody comes in and removes the tile. Well, then it's somebody else's job to put in the shower pan. And then it's another guy's job to come in and put in the tile. So that could take days. This takes 15 minutes. So grab bars in your bathroom. So some of the older cottages do not have blocking in the walls, and older apartments, to be quite honest, don't have blocking in the walls for grab bars. So again, if I had a contractor come in and rip out tile in a shower, who knows if I can match that tile? It's probably an older tile that I can't. Sometimes the showers that are in the high rise are that prefab fiberglass shower, so you can't exactly cut those and put blocking behind those walls. So we found a product called the WonderPole, and that B-shaped bar that's in the middle actually swivels 360 degrees. So if you're in the shower, you can lock it to where it's pointed at the shower for when you're getting in and out. If you're using the toilet, you can turn that to the other side and lock it in place so that you can use it when you're getting on and off the toilet. And that's $179. And it is a tension pole, so the ceiling and the floor provide the tension for that to stay in place. And those poles can go up to 600 pounds of support. Lighting. So if you have an electrician come in and install new lighting in your unit, we're talking $3,000 to $5,000 easy. Those guys don't go to school and do journeymans for nothing. They spend a lot of money to do that, and so they're going to charge you a lot of money to do what you need. But these are some alternatives that we have found. Some things are LED light strips. So it's just a roll of lights that you can unroll. You can cut them to fit any space, and they run anywhere from $25 to $65 a roll. No plug lights, so you see those long bars with lights coming out. Those are actually battery operated, and you can recharge those, and those stick to the wall with like a command strip style thing. And so you can, if you have them in one place and you think, well, maybe that's not the right place I want it, then you can move it to another location. And those can run depending on how decorative you want them. I have a range here of $25 to $100. So for that pair of two, I think it was $99 on Amazon. And then that third picture where you see the two smaller lights, those are no plug wall mounted night lights. Again, rechargeable, battery operated. You can put them low, you can put them high, but they're going to offer additional light support at a fraction of the cost that an electrician would charge you to rewire your home. And this was the thing I was talking about earlier for those upper cabinets. So cabinets are expensive. I don't know if you guys have priced out cabinets recently, but most of the time when you change out a cabinet, you're going to have to change out a countertop. Because when you take those cabinets off, half the time those countertops are going to break. So when you think about having to replace your cabinets and countertops, we're talking $30,000 plus. So the alternative is, this is a 2-system unit that pulls down. It's $580, which seems like a lot for 2 pieces. But when you think about the cost of what cabinetry is, that $30,000 plus, that's, again, a fraction of the cost, and something that's easy to install, easy to use and operate, and, overall provides safety of not having to get on a step stool or a step ladder. And you can just do that from a seated position and just reach up and pull that down, and the arm brings those 2 shelves down. So that was a lot. It was a lot to think about. So I want to leave you with, if you could change one thing in your home today to make it safer for aging in place, what would it be? And you don't have to answer that, but something for you to think about. Something for you to think about in your homes that would make it safer, more convenient, easier for you. So think about that. Think about that. And if we can help you in the studio, come and visit with us. We would love to talk to you about what we can do for you to make it more convenient and more safe in your homes. So here we are at the end. Thank you for listening to me. I know I've talked a lot. Thank you for learning about the design studio. I would like to say I have one of the best teams at the ARC. They work really hard for you. They work really hard for new residents. We want your homes to be perfect. Are they always? No. But we'll make it to where it is perfect. We'll make it to where it is the space you want to be. It's the space you want to be. You smile when you come home. You know you have all of the conveniences that you need. And we want to be that support for you. So anything we can do to help you, no idea is too big, too small. It can be something minor, it can be a large renovation, but we absolutely would love to help you. So this is the time where we open it up for questions, but we're going to do an Irish goodbye. So thank you so much. See you later. Just kidding. If you have questions, we're here. Teresa's going to come around with the microphone, so if you have a question, raise your hand up.
In combining 2 units together, what decisions are considered in whether you do it or not, and who makes those decisions?
So it's not always about the unit itself. We have had opportunities to make combo units in the past, and we've had to think about where are we in sales, how much money have we spent on renovation so far. So those are typically decisions that are made with Steve, Gordon, Terry, and myself. And then as far as the unit itself, one of the major things we need to look at is, are those 2 units compatible? So in a cottage, are the roof lines the same? How is the plumbing running in there? Is it going to cost more money for us to get up underneath that unit? Are they going to line up right? And again, those are decisions that I don't make by myself. There's typically at least 4 of us. Don't be shy, guys. Come on. There we go.
You talked shortly about the refurbishment process. And for those of us that have been here a while, can we get a little more information as to where are you in that process?
Sure.
What are the years,
Okay.
et cetera?
Yes. So we've taken 2 pauses. I'm going to be completely transparent with you. So we lost some staff, and then we got an influx of units that we had to make ready. And so, trying to make sure that we're getting those entry fees coming in. But we always go back to it. We take typically a 1 to 2 month pause. But as Teresa mentioned, we have completed 99. That doesn't mean that all 99 have taken us up on the refurbishment, but we have at least addressed 99 units. So I don't remember what year we're on. I think 14 is probably right. But I can give you a better answer. But what is the refurbishment program? So if you don't know, we go in and repaint walls. So not doors and trim, but all of the walls. We will change out appliances to stainless steel if they are older than 7 years old, and then replace flooring. So any flooring that you feel is problematic, we replace it with a like product. So if it's carpet in a bedroom, we replace with carpet in a bedroom, but you do have the option to upgrade and pay the difference. You don't know, so Mr. Rosso just asked if people have to move out. You don't. You don't have to move out. It's really your choice on whether or not you want to move out. I will say we've only had maybe one person move out so far, and that's because we were doing all of the flooring and all of the paint. But most of the time, people want to stay, so we work with them to get that done.
I have two questions. Can we find out, excuse me, allergies. Can we find out where we are on the refreshment?
Yes, you can. So you will call the lovely woman sitting next to you, Teresa, and she will tell you where you are and an estimate of how long it will take us to get to you. It's kind of hard for us to know that, but we can give you a, you may be 2 to 3 months out before you get a phone call type thing.
And what is your standard on, we moved into a cottage that had a bathtub, shower combo. Some of our neighbors have paid like $15,000 to get a new shower. For the safety factor, why is that not included with refurbishment?
So I will tell you now, it is. I don't know. Yes, so the question was about bathtubs and why they weren't taken out. When she moved in, there was a bathtub that wasn't taken out, and why wasn't it taken out, essentially. So we do take those out now unless somebody asks us to keep it. But it is a safety thing. I'm not exactly sure why they weren't taken out in the past, but since I have been here, every bathtub that is in a unit is taken out unless somebody asks to keep it.
And do you have to come to you and say, I would like the bathtub taken out?
You do. Yeah. If you have one currently. Now, anything that gets remodeled now, the bathtubs are taken out. But if you have one in your unit now and you want it out, yes, you would need to call us and let us know that.
And your number is?
It's on the sheet that you were given.
I can't.
You don't have one? I'll make sure Teresa gets you one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, and on the carpet exchange,
Sure.
I'm one of the 2014 folk.
Okay.
Yay. I came and talked to you about carpeting, and they're redoing my patio, so I have to wait for that to be done to do the carpeting.
Okay.
But is the carpeting part of refreshment, and
It is.
how do I know if I'm going to get a big bill for that?
Okay, so if you're replacing carpet with carpet, we will not charge you for that. If you want to upgrade to the SPC flooring, then you would pay the cost difference in what we would pay for the carpet versus the SPC.
Okay, I've already picked out the carpet.
One more up front, Teresa.
What sort of craftspeople do you have on staff, and what do they do, since I know that contractors do most of the construction?
So our staff, like I said, we have 8 painters and 4 what I call handymen or installers. So our team goes in and does all of the pre-demo before construction comes in. We don't have the licensed trades like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, so we have to bring in contractors to do those things. Our painting team can tape, float, texture. They can do drywall repairs. So we keep them very busy with those things. So those are carved out of what we have the contractors do in each unit. Does that answer your question?
The construction, I've seen mostly takes the cottages and makes bare wall shells out of them.
Yes. So our guys will go in, so he's saying that the contractors will typically go in and do, when they take it down to studs. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So our team goes in and does kind of the pre-demo for them, but we won't touch the walls just because there are things like electrical and plumbing in those walls, and I don't want to be responsible for knocking a wall down that has plumbing in it and I flood the block. So I do count on folks who I consider the subject matter experts, which are the licensed trades, and they go in and do that heavier stuff that we can't.
I have a couple of things. We've only been here less than 3 years, and the carpet in the bedroom is needing to be restretched. Is that something that maintenance does, or does anybody do it, or do we have to pay for it?
I don't exactly know the answer to that question. I know that we can get the carpet stretched so that you don't have the rolling and safety hazards in it. I will talk to you afterwards, and let's put a plan together so that we can get that addressed for you.
Okay, and secondly, when we moved in, our unit was partially done, and my wife came down, was able to make some other changes, and we were really pleased with the way Teresa worked with us, and I know how nitpicky my wife can get, so Teresa has great patience.
Thank you for that. Yes, Teresa does have a lot of patience. She's very good with our residents.
Good morning. Thank you all for your presentation. A couple of things, and I'm glad Steve's in the back there because some of this may pertain, it may be a Steve question or a dialogue. But I worked with you both on a couple of things. We moved in about 3 years ago, and we had a major, overhaul to our house. I'm very pleased with the paneling. We took the carpet out. We put in the flooring. We did a lot of upgrades. We put in the plantation shutters. A lot of it we paid for. We paid quite a bit of money to bring the place up to where we wanted it. But I'm very pleased with it. My wife loves it. Great. Happy wife, happy life, that thing. House is great. The exterior, that's a problem.
Okay.
We had the backyard fence painted. We had the backyard sodded. All that came when we moved in because it was a mud field and it was uneven in the back. It was a real problem. I've worked with Teresa here on 2 proposals, and I worked with Alita before she passed, and I worked with Mario, and I got 2 different estimates. I put one on Steve's desk. One was to sod it, and in talking to Mario, he said, well, that's not really a great idea. First of all, you've got bad soil. Secondly, you've got trees that have acidic leaves that dump on the grass and kill the grass. And third, you don't have a reliable sprinkler system that waters it. So you're going to kill the sod. All right, went back to plan B, and I looked at one house on our area that did a xeriscaping. They put in the crushed gravel and some drought-resistant cactus-type plants. I won't say the name, but I talked to the people, found out what it cost. I worked with you, got the estimate. Worse than the sod.
Okay.
So I'm living with sporadic weeds, leaves, mud. It's not really grass. But yet, Greenscapes comes and mows it every week, and I don't know what they're mowing. They're just blowing dirt around. But I'd like to know, and this is why I say it's a Steve's question, I'm not going to spend that kind of money for a house I'm not going to own for another 5 or 10 years. But some of our yards over in our area, and I'm talking about across the bridge, are starting to look really pitiful.
Okay.
And the curb appeal is not very attractive to proposed tenants that are going to come here and live here. Whoops. I think there needs to be some arrangement with the ARC if we're going to improve the exterior of the place for curb appeal for future residents, that we can work a deal out
Okay.
somewhere, somehow. I'm not going to spend that kind of money on the exterior without some help because it's not my property.
Understood.
Now, I'm selling a house in Corpus Christi where I've spent a fortune on the exterior because my realtor says curb appeal is so important. front door, plants, green grass, gotta suck it up and do it. That's what they see when they drive up. So, you got my proposal, Steve, you saw what I'm looking at, I gave one to Debbie, I've not heard a response. I'm not doing anything until we, something needs to be done.
Okay, so I'll speak to this. So I think issues like this are kind of a one-off, and if there are more people in here who feel differently than that, please come talk to me. I don't want you to be frustrated with, the bills that you're receiving, and let's come up again with a plan where we can both be happy, that we're not just affecting the ARC's pocketbook. Let's look at good, viable solutions. Xeriscaping is the way to go. We don't have an unlimited resource of water. So when we talk about things that we need to do for yards, I think we always need to talk about xeriscaping. So if you and I could have a conversation about that, I'd love to help.
Right, and when I spoke to Alita back a while ago about this, and I spoke to Mario, it seemed common sense that the ARC is going to end up saving money. We're not going to have to water it, we're not going to have to cut it, we're not going to have to fertilize it, not going to have to mulch it, and it's a cost-saving measure for the ARC, I think, in the long term.
Sure. Let's work together on a plan for your yard. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. It is 11:01, but I will stay up here if anybody has any additional questions. And again, thank you all so much. It's been an honor speaking to you this morning.